since I'm an unoriginal hack, and since it seems to be so successful for all the other unoriginal hacks out there on YouTube, I'm going to talk about politics.
I have discovered more information than any hack ever has. It will scare you.
Politics. See, this is how I view politics. Most likely, all of your political opinions are probably kind of sort of wrong. Why are they wrong? Because they have to be. And sure, maybe it sounds like I'm not saying anything of substance at all, and then I'm just trying to be antagonistic, or even worse, opinionated, but nothing could be further from the truth. Really, your political opinion is wrong because it has to be wrong. I promise. Let me explain.
You will be shocked
But before we get to that, let's try and define politics as best we can.
and amazed at what I have here.
So for the purposes of this video, I will call politics the debate, the discussion for the furtherment of society, the progression, the evolution of the society that the people doing the debate play a part in. Sounds decent enough. It's about the debate. It's about two different sides, the positive and the negative, the white and the black, the red and the blue. And these two sides, they fucking hate each other. But politics really isn't supposed to be about how much they hate each other. I mean, sure, they do, but it's supposed to be about the debate and the discussion and the compromises they can reach in the center or something. This is where that change, that progression, that evolution that I talked about, the goal of politics was. This is where that happens. It happens in the competition, in the clashing of multiple policies, multiple parties, multiple ideologies, debating with each other, smashing into each other, and being forced to come to some sort of compromise. It's never as easy as the most superior idea always winning. That's just not how it works when you have so many people with so many different angles, with so much at stake. The truth isn't found in the answers that either side chooses as their solution to the problem. It's within the wisdom of the entire crowd, of the entire fucking bitching and bickering spectrum. That is where the solutions to political problems are. That's where it's really found. What I'm saying is that you take a bunch of different people, a bunch of different groups, a bunch of different political opinions, all with their own answer to the problem, all thinking that their answer is correct. And even though all of them are wrong, if you take an average of it, you find something that at least resembles what is right. To explain this, I'm going to use an example that doesn't relate to politics at all, but I think will shed light on how this happens, how this... okay, wisdom of the crowd, let's try and explain this. Let's pretend that we posed some question. It doesn't matter what question it is. What does matter is that we invite a bunch of different people, different individuals, a lot of them, to come up with their own solution, their own answer to the question. For instance, like let's say we asked somebody, how much does Amy Schumer weigh? What is Amy Schumer's weight? Give your best guess. Let's say we found 5 random people and we showed them a picture of Amy Schumer and say, how much do you think this woman weighs? They all give their answers, and then we take an average of it. Now, there's no reason to assume that any one of them is actually correct in their assessment of how much Amy Schumer happens to weigh. And there's no real reason to assume that when you just ask 5 of them and then you take an average of it, their answer is going to be the correct answer. But a strange thing happens the more you increase the number of participants in your study. The more people that you ask this question, well, when you take an average of all the answers, the closer it gets to the truth. Sort of like if you took a bunch of people and you handed each one of them a rifle and had them aim at the target and you said, all right, everybody, hit the bullseye. There's no reason to think that if you selected one person in that group that I bet they're going to hit the bullseye. You couldn't really predict where their shot is going to go. But after they all fired at once, you could predict the more participants that you handed the rifle. You could predict with increasing accuracy that the bullseye is going to be the number one spot that they hit. That is going to be the average answer on it because everyone's aiming for it. Sure, there are going to be people that fuck up and hit to the left. There are going to be people that fuck up and hit a little bit too high. But for the most part, since everyone is aiming at it and there are a bunch of people all shooting at once, the bullseye is still going to be the spot that's hit the most. So when it comes to guessing about how fat Amy Schumer is, for every person that looks at her and thinks, she's actually not that fat, there's going to be another person out there whose judgment is faulty in the opposite way. They're going to look at her and think, Jesus Christ, she's a fucking whale. She's at least 300 pounds. For every person who's stupid in this way, there's another person who's stupid in the opposite way. So when you take an average of everybody's stupidity, you get something that isn't stupid.
You now have all the truths.
The real truth.
And yes, I know this metaphor is too stupid and simple to really describe political opinions. It's even too stupid and simple to describe Amy Schumer's actual weight, or a way to finding her actual weight, because we could think that we have the answer, and then she could just go ahead and lose or gain weight. She could change her weight, or maybe Amy Schumer's doctor could come in and, you know, speak with certainty on the issue, like, no, I actually weighed Amy Schumer at my office, and then that'll corrupt everybody. You know, individuals can clot into groups. They can just do the groupthink thing where they're not actually thinking for themselves. They're just thinking for what the person says next to them, because everyone trusts the opinion of someone else more than they trust the opinion of themselves. There are all sorts of factors that muddle this whole thing up. I'm just talking about averages here. And when you're taking an average of politics, when you're looking at the big picture, the point of politics isn't for the true side to beat the false side, for the good side to beat the bad side, for the left to beat the right, or vice versa. What it really is about is about the combat, and hopefully the compromise between the two sides in reaching the most accessible, realistic, and appealing conclusion. That is what politics is about. It's not about black and white. It's not about good versus bad. It's about where they meet in the middle. It's about fucking shades of gray. But people today are nowhere near understanding this. It's fucking obscene. It's sick. What we have today is that instead of people thinking for themselves and truly giving an honest answer of what they think Amy Schumer's weight is, they instead are just clotting into groups on the poles of the spectrum, on the edges, on the extremes, on the political fringes of Amy Schumer's weight. They're dividing into two groups. They're polarizing. One says that she's a 500-pound morbidly obese cow. The other side pretends that she's pretty. Neither of these are true. And with it being so unlikely for those people on the polls to ever budge on their opinion, it just makes the realistic middle that much harder to find. Sure, the system will still chug along, but cooperation is much less likely between the camps when the numbers are so spread out on the polls that they never really get the chance to touch, to truly have a discussion.
It is the truth. You now have all the truths.
So, in conclusion, whether it be the answer to Amy Schumer's weight, or the answer to gun control or abortion, or who should have the presidency, you're probably wrong. It's your destiny to be wrong. You have to be wrong. See it as your particular shade of wrongness that counters out the other moron's shade of wrongness on the opposite side of the spectrum. Your political opinion is wrong because it has to combat all of the other political opinions that are wrong in the opposite ways. And somewhere in the center, and all of the bullshit and chaos that no one really ever planned, the truth, or something resembling the truth, something resembling progress, can sometimes be found.
Act now, on your own.